I see someone with a hat. Is this?
Oh, this is a giant entourage.
That's Ron Howard.
Oh my God, that's Ron.
It's a giant entourage coming down here.
Oh my God. Why don't we clean up the area where Ron's gonna sit?
Yeah, don't give him that
Hollywood
awful
director
newspaper in front of there and
he doesn't need his own one sheet
and such.
Right.
And such.
And what not? Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Howard.
There he is. How you doing, man?
Hello. Nice to see you.
What's up, Ron?
Hi.
How are you?
Can we call you Ron or Mr. Howard?
Ron.
I know, he's like...
But I answered almost anything.
Yep.
Ron, you know why you're here. What happened to Chuck?
Of course.
That's such a deep, dark, complicated question.
Actually, we want to ask you why no one ever beat up Fonz. We talk about that on our show all the time. Like he's this tough guy, but we never saw him fight anybody.
Really.
No, that was
but everyone was scared of him.
The beauty of it. It's all mental. It's all mental.
You had the reach on him and everything. If you just would have cracked him
just
once,
one pop, one time.
He never would have bossed you around
Really?
like that. Yeah, drag you into the bathroom all the time.
All that stuff.
It was a little weird. I got to be honest with you.
We used to wonder about it ourselves.
Yeah.
Here they go again.
We were talking about this just earlier too. What do you guys call it when some show does something that's awful and kind of ruins the flow of the show throughout a few seasons? Like, we would call it Jump the Shark.
Right. What do we call it?
Do you actually call it something, episode 60, something like that?
No, we call it Jump the Shark.
Jump the Shark. Did you know at that point that maybe,
There was a little undercurrent of eye rolling. Among all of us. And yet, the fact of the matter is, it was fun. We were getting to be outside. We didn't have to be stuck on the stage, on stage
That's
19.
True.
We were and outdoors, and the thing got great ratings and all that stuff.
Yeah, the first couple of seasons of Happy Days was so much different from the last few seasons. The first couple of seasons, it was done on film.
Yeah.
And just had more of that American Graffiti, Love American style kind of look to it.
Yeah.
And when the decision was made to switch over to video, live audience thing, did that bother people?
Well, it always stayed on film, but...
Oh, that's right, it did. Okay.
It didn't bother people because it was so much more, electric. And we were competing with shows that were working with live audiences, and those shows had a kind of an energy. And the other style, although it was more comfortable for me because it was more like movies, or even going back more like the Andy Griffith Show, which was a one-camera show.
Oh, right.
And I was the rookie. I hadn't done any stage at all, and everybody else they were all stage veterans.
How were
even
you
the
guys. Rookie when
I know,
everybody, you were in the business for forever?
I was getting nauseous before every show for the first year that we did it that way. But in retrospect, as a director, I was so glad that we did it because later it taught me so much more about comedy. Because when you really are dealing with an audience and you actually are hearing what gets a laugh, what doesn't, what's the timing, how you can screw up a joke, how you can intensify a laugh and things like that. It really helped later when I started directing things like Night Shift and Splash and others to know that.
Yeah, sometimes it's just an energy breath, or it's a lean. There's just sometimes something that will propel a laugh forward that you can't write.
There's like a kind of there's a rhythm to it, and it's sort of an algebra. I mean, the comedy writers are fantastic, the way they'll break down a thing and you change a syllable and suddenly it gets a laugh.
Yeah, then it's funny.
Yeah.
Put the funny word at the end of the sentence instead of in the middle so you don't step all over it.
And Gary Marshall was brilliant. He was like this great teacher because we do the run-throughs. He was a creator of the show, and he's also a great director now, but then he was sort of one of the kings of television. And he'd come in, and we've done the show, and suddenly he would give like 8 notes. And they'd be little things like that. Change a word. Why don't you lean in? Take a pause. Right. And every time, suddenly that new fix would just make it a joke, make it a laugh, get a laugh. And he was kind of a genius at it.
Yeah.
How did you avoid the obvious pitfalls of child stardom and keep your career going? And then get into directing. I mean, it's one of those things where it's very rare that you do see that from a child star, especially from the era where a lot of people had no money afterwards. There wasn't as many laws in place.
It's luck. I mean, first of all, I was already at that point where money was put aside.
Oh, they were?
But my folks were great and did put the money aside. So when I turned 18, I was in good shape from Andy Griffith Show and all that.
And you knew you wanted to go into directing pretty early on.
Really early.
Yeah.
I knew really early. By the time I used to even talk about it when I was really like 8 or 9. But by the time I was 14 or 15, I was thinking about it every day.
Telling Andy Griffith he should stand over here. I think it'd be better if Barney comes in off the left. And
you know, the thing is about that show is that the environment was unbelievably creative and it was fun, and yet because of Andy, who set this tone all 8 years, never getting lazy about it. It was really about doing something for the audience. Let's make this as good as it can be, and nobody would ever walk through it. Nobody would ever be allowed to be, and yet there was a lot of laughter on the sets. And as a director, one of the reasons I like working with Tom Hanks so much is he has that understanding, he has that quality of, you know, we don't have to make this an agonizing experience. We can have a lot of laughs, and yet, you know, we're here for one reason, and we're trying to achieve some level of excellence.
When you killed that bird,
I know that's a
and and then had to nurse the little baby birds.
I actually bumped into that episode.
Did you?
And watched it about a couple of months ago. Yeah.
How is that for you watching? Because all I can equate that to is watching home movies of when you're a little kid. You know, but I mean, this was seen by everybody. What do you feel when you're watching those?
Well, two things happen. First of all, it is like home movies because I remember.
Do you critique yourself also?
And that's part two. I wind up critiquing it
at such a young age, and now you still look back and go, well,
I could have been maybe a little better.
I could have done this. Yeah,
but it was, you know, it was just a great jumping off place that
Absolutely,
that show.
Yeah.
And I'm, you know, and I used to bother me. People would say, "Hey Opie, hey Richie," or Eddie Murphy, "Hey Opie Cunningham," or whatever. And and now I just view it as this great nickname. And you know, of course, as a director, I've been able to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve.
Yeah, you transcended that whole thing where, you know, some people have to do that for the rest of their life, and they're, you know, working in parking garages or something. You're, you know, obviously a named director. You've made a few films I think we've seen.
Frost Nixon blew me away.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you see Frost Nixon?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
It was. I didn't know what to expect out of him. Like, that's kind of a documentary type thing. It was amazing how good it was.
It was been a great 2 years because I was working on Frost Nixon and Angels and Demons kind of simultaneously, preparing them both. And I shot Frost Nixon. Did a little editing, then went and shot Angels and Demons, then finished up Frost Nixon and put it out while I was editing. So they're two totally different movies because Angels and Demons has all this action, these big sort of violent set pieces. They're really intense. I mean, it's quite different from Da Vinci Code in that way, in that this is really about jeopardy and, you know, a ticking bomb. And as a director, I'd never really made a film that was that intense and sustained it for that long. Maybe a little like Backdraft in some ways, but you know,
you and Tom Hanks must be on a level now where you can just get together and work without having to really even talk to each other. I mean,
you know, it's always kind of been like that, and maybe because we both came out of TV, maybe it's just a similar sensibility. But going back on Splash, I remember thinking, you know, I'm a couple of years older than Tom, but I was a veteran compared to Tom at that point. I remember thinking, look how relaxed this guy is. Look how creative he is. And then when I worked with him on Apollo 13, I saw that he was all that, and yet he'd reached this other level, which is what gives him so much power as a dramatic actor. Which is he's not just entertaining; he's engrossing. Even when he's not talking, he's like taking you, the audience, on a story. And now with Da Vinci Code and now Angels and Demons, it's a whole other different kind of movie. It's a different kind of character. And I really like what he's doing with that Robert Langdon character from Da Vinci Code to Angels and Demons. It's kind of like he's taking charge of the movie version of that character. And it's really fun for me as a director and also as his friend to just sort of see how brilliant he is and how smart he is about what he does. And yet, he's having laughs and enjoying himself.
Yeah, he's one of these actors that kind of got past the comedic actor thing.
Yeah.
Which obviously and amazingly, he brings that even into serious roles.
Yeah.
When you see him in Saving Private Ryan, a horrific movie, yet that humor that he has really comes through in whatever he does. You could tell he's genuinely a funny guy.
Oh, well, he genuinely is. And I think, you know, and he was able to get a lot more humor into this one with Angels and Demons. But again, a lot of that has to do with the style of the story because it's flowing, it's a little more chaotic, it's a little more intense, and so for him to come in with a good line once in a while really eases the tension and it's very entertaining.
Can I ask something for the readers out there? Now, Angels and Demons was the first Dan Brown book, so how'd you make it into a sequel when it probably should have been a prequel?
Well,
maybe a little technical question, but
it was first of all, as many millions of people who've read both Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons.
We all read Da Vinci Code first, and then went, wait a minute, this guy had another book, and
so
then we went back.
It was almost like a sequel already,
right? Okay.
In my mind, and also, even though a lot of people have read it, millions more have seen the movies, and so I thought, for them it was important to do it this way. Also, Da Vinci Code cinematically is about a sort of a philosophical idea. It's about its controversy. It deals a lot with the past. It necessitated a lot of conversation and explanation in order to tell the story. And it was sort of it was that first and kind of the mystery thriller second. Mm-hmm. It's reversed in this one.
Oh, okay.
And it's a much more violent, intense, dangerous situation that Langdon is coming into. And I felt like that it was better to have established the character in the other movie and now throw him into an even more intense situation in this one. And so for movie audiences and also for Tom to play the part, it makes more sense to follow that story with this more intense one.
I'm looking forward to it. One other question. Now that the church is finally off your back with this movie, right? Because for a while there, we have Bill Donahue on our show from time to time,
right?
And I get frustrated with the guy because he came out against you, and then I go, well, Bill, have you seen the movie? And he goes, I
know. Well,
and he does it all the time because he did it with a few other projects he had problems with. And our first question with the guy is, well, did you see the movie that you have a problem with? He goes, I'm not going to be bothered with that. I'm like, but you're all over the press talking about it. You don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, look, that's my frustration as well. But
see, us Opies think alike.
Well, it's common sense, isn't it? Opie's a common sense kind of a guy.
You just don't succeed at the same rate.
But then the church saw the movie, I guess, just to help this along a little bit, and now they're okay with the movie. There's
they
no
think it's fun.
Whatsoever.
They think it's fun.
Yeah.
And look, hey, intrigues at the Vatican. Even violence, murders, assaults from outside and within. If you're at the Vatican bookstore, what this one guy pointed out to me, you can read all about it. I mean, it's in their history. It's a part. I mean, it's an amazing institution. They've done so much good, but any institution is going to occasionally be compromised, or human beings come into play with all those weaknesses. So they've had all those kinds of dramas. What Dan Brown does is he sort of draws on these possibilities, and then he creates a work of fiction. And that's what Angels and Demons is. And this, even more than Da Vinci Code, is really about the ride that the audience gets to go on.
I can't wait to see it.
I know.
What is it like?
I think you'll like it. I'm really excited to start showing it to audiences that happens Friday.
Awesome.
What is it like to not win an Oscar? Like when you're nominated for something and you believe in it, and it's like you know that being nominated is such an honor. But I always wonder, what are you thinking when you're sitting there? And they mention the other name, it's like, all right, you've been, but is it a tremendous letdown, or do you kind of have a feeling like I think they're going to take it?
Well, I've had different experiences with Apollo 13, which was sort of neck and neck with Braveheart.
My favorite, by the way, Apollo 13.
Oh, thank you. I was very proud of it, and we were nominated for Best Picture, and we started winning some of the awards leading up to it. And Brian Grazer and I were sort of sitting there side by side, and we felt like, well, this is it. And a lot of the pundits had said we were going to get it, and Braveheart won. And so for us, that was one of those moments where I said to Brian, well, this is like somebody kicked a field goal to beat you with 1 second left in the game, And even though I loved Braveheart, but I was very proud of Apollo 13. We won with Beautiful Mind, and that was thrilling. And with Frost Nixon, we were thrilled to be nominated. I don't think Brian or I, either one, really expected to win. Slumdog Millionaire It was a great movie. We loved it. It had a lot of momentum, and clearly, it was the favorite. And still, you're sitting there, and you just upsets happen in those award shows, and it'd be thrilling to get to the microphone and talk about your movie and get an award. So.
I guess it's easier once you've won a couple too. Like that would be nice. Number 7 on the. It's probably a little easier
I don't
to
know.
swallow.
It's nice when you're there. You'd like to get it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Is Clint in the new movie at all?
No, my dad is.
Oh, he is?
My dad is in it, and he plays an American cardinal. The whole thing takes place during conclave, during that time when they lock all the cardinals in and they're trying to vote for a new pope.
Right.
Because our film begins with the death of a pope. And they never let cameras in there. But it's pretty well documented, and I took pains to try to be as authentic and detailed about that as the capsule going to the moon.
Right.
But it was really interesting. Anyway, my dad got to play, one of the American cardinals there, and it was a great experience.
Was there a competition between you and Clint growing up? Because he had Gentle Ben, pretty much his own vehicle. You had Andy Griffith's show, but you were kind of it was Andy's show.
One time, one year, for 1 week. And I think Andy Griffith was first and Gentle Ben was second in the ratings. And that was pretty great. I remember really appreciating that. But there's a 5-year spread between us, and we've always been close. And in all honesty, the business has never gotten in the way of that. And we don't talk about it too much, but Clint's got a great life, works all the time.
I would just constantly go to him, "It's Tranya."
Well, he's
Great
in that
Star Trek episode. Jesus.
He's God, I might get this wrong, but I think he's in an upcoming episode of Fringe where he plays. If you like that,
really? Yeah.
You might want to see this episode of Fringe because he's really.
I know we're running out of time, but Arrested Development, I got to just mention, that's just an amazing show.
Thanks.
It's an amazing show that I discovered when it came out on DVD.
Critics loved it. And then, for some reason, sometimes, Ope said it before, or Greg, if I don't want to confuse
I know.
it's like,
it's a little too weird for me to be.
Sometimes the shows are too smart and too clever for the majority of the people watching television, I think.
Well, it was also kind of a breakthrough stylistically in terms of what a half-hour TV comedy could look like and sound like.
Yeah, it looked totally different than.
Now there's The Office and 30 Rock a little bit.
I didn't even realize that.
It started with Arrested Development, my friends. That's what I'm getting at.
But Mitch Hurwitz, the creator of the show, is working on a screenplay along with the guy Jim Valet, and Fox Searchlight really wants to make a movie of it.
Wow.
And so I'm excited because it's another announcer gig for me.
Yeah.
You're not going to be
narrator.
involved with the creative process though of the movie?
Well, a little bit, but that became Mitch's baby, and I was involved early on with the show creatively, and then soon it just completely. He really owns it. He's a brilliant guy. He would also direct this, so he's writing as we speak.
I loved how it was uncredited narrator announcer. It's like if everyone in the world doesn't know Ron Howard's voice,
why would you be on credit? Why would you be on credit? What is that? I don't know what that means.
It was almost silly for him to be credited because you knew it was Ron Howard's voice.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be naive. I mean, I'm an actor.
It was sort of it was sort of an accident because in the beginning I did the narration as just a temp thing, and we expected to get somebody else, and then they liked the narration and it tested well, and Mitch liked it, and he asked if I would do it, and I hadn't been credited on the pilot, and then there was a lot of people sort of saying, "Is that Ron Howard's voice? Is it not?" I don't know. So we just thought going into the new season, it'd be more interesting to do it that way. And then, so we just kept it that way.
It's kind of a statement how famous you are, too, and how well-known you are. Where you're like, no need for credit. Like, don't doesn't recognize Ron Howard's voice.
Can I pitch a future project for you, Ron?
Sure.
Here we go.
Oh, please.
A documentary on all the Opies out there.
Yeah, there must be some. Hey, do you know where the name came from, by the way?
No idea. I know where mine came from. It was you.
Oh, was it? Well, Andy, everybody always said, well, is it short for something?
Yeah.
And he said, no, when he was a kid, in North Carolina, and it was before TV. There was radio, but they were in a small town, And the biggest thing that would happen is, once in a while, a circus would come through, or a carnival. But the other thing is, these traveling music shows. And there was a band leader named Opie something, who had this band that he would come through. And he loved music, would always see the show, and always remembered that name. And so when they were looking for the name of his son...
Look at
got
you,
a little
just got
knowledge
some
today.
info.
A little knowledge.
That's like finding out something about your family tree.
Was there some alcoholic that would travel playing accordion?
But you won't like shave your head in sympathy with me.
If you put me in I'll do whatever you want. I'll say goodbye to these two guys in a second. I got to say, I met Ron on the streets. I was never, I mean, we get starstruck every once in a while, but I was out of my freaking mind. And I don't know if you remember, but then I ran home to get a camera. I'm like, what am I doing? And my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time. I'm like, I got to go back. I got to get a picture. And I never do that.
Well,
and you were like,
I like bumping into you.
And did I tell you what happened in that Starbucks? I was recognized. We were both in the Starbucks. I know these guys have heard the story, but I got
two big stars.
No, I'm not even going there. I'm not even going there. But I'm in the Starbucks. It's really early, and I get recognized. Going, I can't believe, Opie, you're in the Starbucks. And I go, do you understand how surreal this is? You're saying that as the guy I'm named after is right over there putting whatever he's putting in his coffee. And then I blew that guy off to go talk to you.
And then Ron blew you off.
Oh, yeah, of course he did. Well, whatever. It was one of those moments I'll never forget. It was awesome.
That was fun. I enjoyed it too.
Hey, when you hear something like the Christian Bale meltdown, which happens, I'm sure, with actors, does stuff like that kind of happen? Maybe not to that level, but commonly on sets where it just never gets recorded, or where people just kind of freak on each other a little bit.
Well, that was pretty intense. My daughter Bryce was in that scene with him.
Yeah, okay, I forgot.
And so I heard all about it way before it ever broke. And it was, it was uncomfortable for her, and she was surprised because that's not who he is. So clearly he was in an intense scene, and when I heard the circumstances, even from Bryce, of why he blew, frankly, I understood it.
Yeah.
Because emotionally, you're doing something like that, and if you feel like that even somebody you respect, the cinematographer, is doing something that's preventing you from getting from the moment that you're kind of been building your character to, you're going to lose your temper. Now, he went overboard, and he regrets that, but so those kind of tirades, I probably haven't heard anything that went on and on and on like that before. But people blow up all the time. It's it's like probably in a dugout or in the locker room. It's very intense, and people are giving everything they've got. And let's face it, it's not the kind of career that draws people who are, all
emotionally stable.
Emotionally stable. Okay.
Ron's got to go.
Okay.
We got to respect his time. I mean, this was great, Ron.
I appreciate it.
Love having you, and best of luck on the movie.
Angels and Demons. It's in theaters this Friday, but there are midnight screenings starting tomorrow night, Thursday night at midnight.
Wow.
Which is smart, and you'll
News to
obviously
me.
have people at the midnight screenings.
Cool.
Much anticipated sequel, and I'm sure it's going to succeed.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Break,
Thanks.
The great Ron Howard,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thanks.
Opie and Anthony.
Wait a minute. I gotta find out about it.
Opie and Anthony, back live. Star-studded